Thank you all of you for joining us on a weekday evening. I really appreciate that, and I think it has a lot to say about the dedication and focus you have for your admissions abroad. Um, Let me share my screen. If you guys have got any questions in the middle of the session, please ensure you ask me any question you have from the Q&A button. Again, on behalf of upGrad Abroad, I'd like to welcome all of you. We're going to be talking about writing effective SOP. An SOP is a statement of purpose and is normally used by the faculty of different universities. It is normally used by the admission team, the recruitment team of different university to assess the knowledge, experience, motivation, intellectual maturity, and the readiness of applicants to pursue education at their institution. And I think one thing I want all of the attendees to know right now is that your statement of purpose is the most significant, the most important, the most critical element of your complete application process. Your statement of purpose has the power to make or break your application. That's one thing. Well, the second thing which I want you guys to know is an SOP is one of the biggest tools you have to express your intention. I think if there are two students who are competing for a university with almost similar marks, an SOP makes all the difference, because an SOP is not just a question of applying for a course, but an SOP is you trying to explain that why that university in particular would be an excellent fit for you, as opposed to some other institution which you also applied to. So that question, that why is that university so important to you? What is the faculty? I mean, what is it about the faculty? What is about the facilities? What is about the campus? What is about the infrastructure? What is about the pedagogical approach? What is it about the curriculum that appeals to you? That has to be answered. So, well, the first rule is, what does an SOP effectively, what does it effectively do? What is it supposed to be doing? An SOP has to link all the experiences, all your academic records, all your extracurricular records, all your internships, everything that you've done in the past. You have to bridge that to the sort of future, the future career, the future vocation that you want to build for yourself. And so through that program for which you're writing an SOP, you have to mention that this is where I'm coming from. This is the course that I intend on doing, and this is the future where I want to go to. What should your SOP actually highlight? It should highlight your academic strengths, things that you're great at. So when I mention academic strengths, it should mean relevant. So one thing that you should always realize, should always know, is everything in an SOP should be very relevant to the course. If you're just writing something for the sake of it, but it has got nothing to do with the course that you're applying to, it doesn't make sense to include it. The second is the background, the projects, internships, extracurricular activities. The third is the personal goals, the sort of goals that you have beyond academics, the sort of goals that you have for you to personally transform and grow yourselves. The fourth is the research and trust. I'll delve deeper into all of these. I'm just explaining you broadly what. So think about this, right? These 6 points: academic strengths, background, personal goals, research and trust, skills, and vision of a career. These have to be broadly, sort of scribbled down on a diary. Pick up some of the biggest highlights in your life with respect to these 6. Then we will articulate an SOP that fits all of these 6. So for your basic homework, when you're scribbling, apart from this, the other part is knowing about the course. So browse through the website of the school, the department, the program of interest to you. By school, I mean the exact business school or law school or any school that you're going to. Obtain or download the PDF booklets and read them carefully, and highlight the aspects of the program that appeal to you. So if you're applying to 10 different universities for studying law in the UK, or if you are applying to 10 different universities for studying, Masters of Science. You're doing your MS in the US. So at the end of the day, when you're writing an SOP for each one of them, you have to be very clear, very articulate about what is it about the program that's appealing to you, right? Read up on the research interests and the projects of the faculty. Sometimes you also have to know about the faculty, each and every person of the faculty, and what research are they doing, right? What projects are they involved in? What is it that you want to be involved with? And of course, the third one is browse through recent articles from the research that is happening in the university. So a lot of it depends on what kind of field are you going in. But if it's a research-driven university, if it's not a very employability-focused university, then you have to know, what sort of research is happening on campus. You have to know how is that field, what are some of the developments in that field, and what are the current problems and challenges that you want to be addressing, right? The second rule is, or the seventh tip is the importance of SOP and what can you do once you understand what good does an SOP do to you. So an SOP is basically used by the faculty to see if you're going to be also adding some value to the university, to the classroom, to the cohort. It's not just as in what can the university do for you, but it's also a lot about what can you do for the university. If you're a good fit for the student community, if you're a good fit for the classroom, if you're a good fit for the campus, if you are a good fit to the research and the developments and the transformation in that field for that university. So an SOP by itself is one of the biggest opportunities you have to express your communication skills, to express your organization skills, to express your persuasive skills. How can you move your audience to believe your story? An SOP is basically just a story of where you're coming from and where you want to go. But that story has to be one that gets etched in the minds of the reader. And who the reader is, just for you to know, the SOP is read by the faculty members and seldom read by the admissions team. It's always read by the specific faculty member, right? So I'm just going to jump into the outline of your SOP. How do you actually craft it? So these are going to be some of the most important slides from here on, right? This is how you begin an SOP. And also, I think somebody had asked me a question here that what is one of the brilliant ways to start, an SOP? So while it's important to be focused on SOP, you don't have to be boring about it. I think to distinguish your essay, to distinguish or to keep your SOP distinct, one of the best ways to do this is to, write about an idea in your field that turns you on intellectually. It can be something which is going to create or change the future of that field. It can be something which is widely being researched on. It is going to be something that has just been an idea which is the next biggest innovation in that field. But talking about a super intellectual idea of a field is an effective essay opener. I can give you an example. And sometimes it lets you write about something besides yourself for a bit, right? And the idea you choose to talk about can also tell an admissions committee officer a lot about you, and it speaks volumes of the sort of research you've done, right? So these are some of the major questions you should answer when you articulate and your academic why. Academic why would mean, well, in the first place, why do I need this course, right? So the first question, you can take a screenshot or you can note these down. Why do you want to pursue undergraduate or postgraduate studies? Why do you want to do this? Why are you interested in the program that you're applying to? Why just that program? Why MBA, not MCOM? Why MBA, not MS? Third, especially for postgraduate aspirants, what are your research interests? Are you looking to fulfill any research interest through the course? So I'm also going to, through the course of the webinar, I'm also going to show you a few snippets. I'm also going to show you a few pictures of a sample SOP, which can give you a clear idea of how to write an effective SOP. Then what are the skills and expertise that you hope to acquire through the program? So what do you think are some of the most important skills and capabilities that you need to progress in that field, and how will you get them during this course, and what do you expect to learn, and what do you, this is the most important one, number 5, right? What do you want to do after completing the program? So I told you, right, the future is very important. Well, just as a part of my own experience, when you write SOPs, sometimes the most brilliant, the most meritorious child does not get selected, because they want to offer admissions to somebody who needs that campus infrastructure more than anybody else, who is looking at a future that's way more promising and cannot be completed, cannot be actualized, cannot be realized, cannot be effectuated if not for the sort of facilities and infrastructure of that uh, campus, right? So a lot of meritorious students get left behind just because there are effective SOPs around in that application cycle, which need that university a lot more than any other student. I'm not saying they're going to be very widely apart, in terms of the merit, but yes, marginal difference of merit, but a stronger SOP can pull you through if you have a good concrete plan of the future. Now, you have to elaborate on the experiences. I told you two of the biggest parts of SOP are your past and your future. So the first one is what were some of the past experiences, or only talk about the relevant ones that are closely relevant to your field and the respective tenures, which means the time that you actually, so how long was an internship? How long was a course that you did? How long was an extracurricular experience that you took up in that field? Talk about all the volunteer work experiences. What skills do you aim to gain through the program? I think some of you wrote, how are these SOPs different from country to country? Well, one of your answer is America and Australia look a lot at your social work, look a lot at your profile from a social standpoint, from a communal standpoint, that what have you been doing for the community, right? So that way it's very important to put down your volunteering work experience. How is your experience related to the program, and if it is related to the program that you're interested in? And so this is a very important part, vivid concrete details of your experiences. Vivid concrete details. I think part of the SOP is to quantify your story, right? To quantify your story. So even though I've asked you to write a story, you have to remember that the story should remain etched in the reader's head. It should serve as the best source of information about you. And numbers play a key role. So, for example, right, if you worked for a local NGO and you were teaching mathematics to primary kids, and you were saying that, hey, during my engineering days, I also helped a local NGO by joining as a math teacher, and where I taught basic math concepts to school children. That's incorrect. And I'm just giving you an example here. SOPs have to be very quantified. Instead of saying, hey, I also taught at a local NGO, you have to quantify it, saying, you know what, during my second year of engineering, I joined Teach Math, a local NGO, where I was a part of a math tutoring team. For a period of 10 months, I taught basic mathematics like algebra, geometry, to more than 30 fifth and sixth grade students. And every single student I taught to secured an A grade in mathematics. So if you look at it, there's a lot of difference. So that's the power of numbers. They add authenticity to the story. They add authority to the story. And so remember that you have to quantify your stories properly, show the results of them more than, instead of just mentioning the action, right? Well, so these 3 points are also important, provided they are quantified. That I'll show you an example of SOP where these 3, you will also know what I really mean with this. That what all have you done in that specific field? So I think part of the role of SOP is also to ensure that when you are expressing your interest, your intention of pursuing a specific major or specialization or a specific course, what is it that you have done already to ensure that interest was nurtured, it was cultivated, right? It was bolstered, it was strengthened, you know, day in and day out. So that also has to be mentioned. The third one is talk about your goals. So we talked about, we talked about uh, the academic why. We talked about the experiences you had in the past, and now we're talking about the future goals that you have. So, what are your future goals for graduate school? What are your career goals? For your graduate school would mean more or less if you were a UG student, what do you want to do, as your masters? If you're a PG aspirant, then what do you want to do in your career? What do you want to build for yourself? The third one is characteristics of the school department program that can help you accomplish your goals. Now remember, and fourth one, which I mentioned to you, what positive aspects do you bring to the school department program? Remember, I mentioned to you about something. Some SOPs, some universities in the world ask you about some specific faculty members that you want to work with. So you have to be that thoroughly and intensively, aware uh, through your research about which are some of the best faculty members of that school, law school, school of education, school of business, XYZ, and why do you want to work with them? What ideas, what innovative breakthrough ideas are they working on for research, and why do you want to join them? The other thing is when you talk about, what characteristics of the school can help you accomplish your goals, you have to be so well researched that you talk about something specific. Like, for example, just saying that, hey, I love the campus, I love the infrastructure, I'm sure it'll add a lot of value. No, be specific. Like saying, I would fully utilize the resources that the Wallenberg Hall provides. I am particularly interested in the field of molecular chemistry. Now, the special 24/7 laboratories provided for student research is exactly the kind of opportunity I'm looking for. I can totally see myself working there and working in those labs day and night. And I especially want to study under Dr. Mark Adams, as I've been an avid follower of his work in quantum chemistry, which is not the only field I would choose for my research study, but also a topic I am extremely passionate about. I would be more than honored if I can earn a spot in his research group. So I hope you got the point. I'm talking about specific parts of the campus like the Wallenberg Hall and the fact it has 24/7 laboratories. And then I mentioned, hey, you know what? I'm not only passionate about molecular chemistry, but I also want to study under Dr. Mark Adams, to read about his work, to earn a spot in his work for quantum chemistry. Now, you can apply this to law or business or anywhere else, but hope you got the point. It somehow makes me feel that this child is the most ready to be brought onto the campus and to be given an admission. Yes, Tab Qureshi has a wonderful question. How to find out which is the best faculty in that school? Well, here's what you do, Tab. Go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best source for it. LinkedIn is the kind of platform which will give you a lot of information on the faculty, which will so you have to be very well researched also on the website of the university, but LinkedIn will give you a greater insight, a greater invasive intelligence into say which faculty member is currently doing what kind of research, right? uh, it may be difficult, it may be rigorous, but it's completely worth all the hard work. I think if you are more well researched, it always definitely helps. And so one of the questions that there is on the chat box is, are there items that need any special explanation? Well, stop looking at my slide for once, okay? Just stop looking at my slide for once. Let me explain you. I'm sure that you guys know that your SOP goes as a part of your college application, which means it goes along with your transcripts, your test scores, GMAT, GRE, SAT, depends, and your letter of recommendations, right? Faculty will first look at all the empirical data in your application, your grades, your scores, your LOR, highlights, everything. And then they will spot certain peculiarities that need explanation. That if they, so SOP is the biggest or the most important way to explain gap in your study years. If you took more than the actual time to finish a degree, if you left the degree in between and continued it later, if you took a big sabbatical, if you left work to support your family, if you changed fields, you were a business student, but now you want to go into some other field. You were a science student, now you want to do an MBA. You were a teacher, and now you suddenly want to do an MBA. So anything that cannot be explained through objective data, anything that cannot be explained through empirical data, those questions need to be answered through FLSP, through the statement of purpose. On the other hand, I think the more honest explanations you have um, for all of these, odd aspects of your academic life or your work life, it makes faculty members, understand that this is the sort of student we're going to be working with, right? Uh, what is the crux of your SOP? I think, like I mentioned to you, it has to be a bridge between your past experiences and the future. Now we start talking about the program. So I know the webinar or the slideshow that I'm showing you is very data intensive. It's very data rich. It's probably overwhelming you with so much information. Keep taking screenshots alongside. I think that will really help you. So why do you want to study in that country? Why do you want to study in that college? When it comes to country, talk about the industrial practices, talk about the opportunities, talk about the sort of companies you want to work with, talk about the set of industrial principles, the industrial regulations, the industrial um, fundamentals that make you work for them. For example, if you're looking at tech and you want to go to a US university, talk about Silicon Valley, talk about the role that the US plays in ensuring that they pioneer some of the most breakthrough and orchestrative technologies in the world. Why do you want to study in that college? I told you SOP is a lot more about why that university and not any other university, right? And then third is how your work and program connected. So all your life, the sort of things you've studied, the sort of things you've worked in or on, and the program you're going to, how are the two connected? And how will the program be instrumental in achieving your objectives? I think I just mentioned and explained you that not only is it important to tell them that, that I'm going for this course, but how will it help you achieve the future you want to achieve? And lastly, what do you expect from the program? Just give me a quick second. I'll just sip in some water. Yes. So part of the deal is you have to ensure that you show them that you're making an informed decision, right? Now, if you want to study law, you want to study science, you want to study MBA, indicate what you would like to study in enough detail to convince the faculty that you understand the scope of research in that discipline. You understand the research trends, you understand the industrial trends, you understand where is that field developing and moving from here on. You have to show them that you have thoroughly researched on the program, the faculty, the focus areas, and this helps you write a way more informed SOP that is relatable to the faculty. Now, remember, SOPs are not read by admissions team, they're read by the faculty. The faculty knows what's happening in the field. So I'm saying the more researched you are on the field, the more researched you are on the scope of that field, the scope of the research in that field, the current breakthroughs and innovation and the innovatory practices that are going on, that appeals to the faculty because that is their everyday life, right? And so describe why you're a good fit for the program and why the program is a good fit for you. And if there are, like I mentioned to you, specific faculty you're interested in working with, and if there are any aspects of the program that are of particular interest to you. For example, a lot of universities give out exchange programs. A lot of universities have industrial visits. A lot of universities have exchange semesters with fellow universities within the US or Canada or Australia, anywhere. Some of them have exchange programs outside their own countries, like US universities have it with Denmark, Canadian universities have it with Germany, XYZ. And then some of these universities have research centers. Some of these have co-ops in Canada that they let you work in the middle of your semesters for 4 months, 8 months, 12 months, and get the necessary experience. So all of them, your whichever set of services you want to avail, or what are the aspects of programs of particular interest, mention all of that. And so the more researched you look, that is what appeals to the faculty member. And the second one is, does the college follow a particular curriculum that appeals to you? So I think one thing, so I've always been talking about, up until now in the last 30 minutes, about what you should do. I think one thing that you should never do is use the SOP everywhere. Don't use the same SOP everywhere, because SOP is a large representation of the sort of university you're going to, and why have you chosen that specific course in that specific university. So make sure that you're crafting an SOP, you're articulating an SOP separately for separate universities, where you're supposed to mention what keeps it distinct, what particular pedagogical practice or curriculum is being followed that is not being followed anywhere else. And if so also, some universities are not ranked very well, but in specific fields they are the top 10 in the world. So always figure that out. If in your program they're particularly excelling, right? Then comes articulating your personal why. We spoke about your academic why, but now we're going to talk about your personal why. So focus on you in addition to the educational and working past experiences. uh, you know what makes you unique, what qualities of your personality do you wish to showcase. So take a piece of sheet, note down all the points about your personality, then pick the ones that are suitable to make an admissions officer believe that, hey, you're a best fit for student community, for a college, right? So what qualities of your personality do you wish? So I don't always have to tell them that I watch a lot of movies, but if I read a lot of books, if I have a lot of curiosity about science and I visit the laboratory, if I write a lot of research articles, that is the sort of things that I want to mention, and not that I play sports or I watch a lot of movies. So depends on what qualities of your personality do you want to show relevant to to reinforce your academic intentions, to reinforce your future intentions. So accordingly mention whatever can bolster, strengthen, or reinforce the sort of perception you want to have. Then the third one is research the student community of the college and try and establish a relationship between the personality and the sort of values that are practiced in the college. Try starting your SOP with a short story, a quote, your personal life experiences, or an experience in your life that can directly connect with the program that you want to pursue. So, for example, meeting with a very renowned faculty member of that field and how he changed the way you were looking at that field. Maybe ending up in a laboratory where you found out something and you wanted to always, there is when you decided you're going to be following this all your life. Maybe it is, having watched your father run and scale and grow a business from a little store to a big corporate house. So depends on what life experience that you can directly connect with. I'll show you an example. So uh, I mentioned to you, right, the fact about quantifying your stories, that don't just tell them, hey, this is what I did. They tell them through numbers. That my second year of engineering, I taught basic mathematics like geometry, algebra to 30 kids. All of them got a grade A. They were fifth and sixth grades, and I'm super proud of what I did. So everything has to be having numbers. It has to come with data. The seven things that you can mention about your personal experiences is your academic score, your demographic and diversity factors, like um, coming from a household in which your mother was a scientist and your father was an engineer. How did you get the best of both the worlds, right? Or what community do you come from? What is the general belief in that community about studying abroad? So things that can sort of reinforce your intention. Third is work experience. what sort of experiences have you had? So if some of these don't appeal to you, it's fine. I'll give you an example. Just now, I will show you a sample SOP. Fourth is leadership and extracurricular achievements. Fifth is special skills and talent. Special skill and talent would mean anything which is relevant, like you're a voracious reader, like you have been researching on a specific thing for years and years now. For example, your inexplicable quest of learning in that field, or you can talk about your networking skills, or you can talk about the zeal that you have for taking up every opportunity there is in the campus. And then sixth and seventh are your evidence of character, values, and personal qualities and skills and abilities, right? What is not supposed to be done? Use simple, clear, concise language. The goal of the SOP is not to tell somebody you're the most meritorious. It's not to tell somebody you have a great command over the language, right? The goal of the SOP is not to show somebody that you're the most brilliant child that can end up in their campus, or that you have a very fancy, extensive vocabulary, right? The goal is just to ensure that your story is expressed in the most personal, humanistic manner, right? And the goal of the SOP is to make them believe that. Just give me 1 second. Yes, Neha, we will have a recording for this, right? And your SOP has to be unique and authentic, right? So since faculty are the ones reviewing your application, it's fine to use discipline-specific terminology. So do not ever refrain that, because I'm so sort of invested in the field, I know a lot of vocabulary that is technically from my field, but I think my admissions team is going to read, they won't know what I'm talking about. No, the admissions team is not going to read your SOP, the faculty does. So you can talk about all the discipline-specific terminology, tone and style in your SOP. I think one of the things that I mentioned that it is always never emphasized upon enough is leadership. I think regardless of whichever course that you're taking up, regardless of whichever university you're going to, your leadership is never going to be undervalued. Always talk about every leadership experience you've had, like a chance to lead 250 individuals in an NGO when you were still in college, a chance to go to a good or great leadership conference or summit during your college years, the fact that you were promoted from a team leader to a manager in less than 6 months, and you were given a bigger team in less than 6 months. So always emphasize on the importance of leadership. I think it is the most underrated thing, but I think leadership, once a university knows that they are inviting or they're getting more student leaders into their campus, it makes all the difference, right? This is something you can take a screenshot of. 12-point Times New Roman font, 1-inch margin on all sides, 1.5 line spacing. I think this makes for a very professional, formal statement of purpose, right? So Kareem, I can actually guide you for the personal statement also. And how many words does the SOP need to be for? So it's mostly mentioned. Sometimes it's it's for 6,000 words. Sometimes it's for 1,500, 2,500, 3,500. So it depends on these sort of universities. Sometimes SOPs are not given by universities as a standard document that you craft. They give you a set of questions that you have to answer, right? So I'm sure you have mentioned that you've gone through the do's and don'ts. I have already mentioned to you this, that each SOP should be tailored to the requirements. So please don't use the same SOP. Every university has a different curriculum, a different aspect set of how they run the program. Some of them have a lot of industrial visits, some of them have less. Some of them have a lot of research focus, some of them have lesser. Some of them have a lot of exchange programs, some of them don't. Some of them have a lot of corporate tie-ups, corporate research projects, some of them don't. So it depends on which university and how much you know, and how distinct your SOP is when you talk about that specific university. Well, I mean, it should show that you were very well researched. And the it is imperative to connect your interest with the ideology process of respective university. I think every university has specific things that they greatly focus on, and that can be found out by their website, right? So here's the template. This is the most important thing. If you read, the only aspect that can run through all your applications is the template. This is the SOP template. So it should start from introduction to background, to your academic why and your personal why, right? So the first is, uh, you know, why this course interests you, what you want to do in this course, followed by all the information about where you're coming from, your exposure, academic, industrial training, and professional exposure, your extracurricular experiences. And next one is why this course in detail. Talk about the course curriculum, talk about the faculty, talk about the infrastructure, talk about the facility, talk about the skills you are looking to acquire, and how would they help you in your career. The next thing is your career goals, maybe a long-term viewpoint of the next 10 years. Where do you see yourself as the CEO of a Fortune 500 company? You see yourself researching in NASA. You see yourself as a scientist with the US Department of States. Um, that depends on how you see yourself, right? Then why this university? What aspects? Is it the career services? Is it the campus? Is it the ranking? Is it the research facilities? And what is it that this course, मतलब ये course ही क्यों करना है, इसी university में ही क्यों करना है? And then the last thing is summing up in the last paragraph that how would your life change if you were given admission in that university, right? How would you be able to transform or add value to the world if you were given that chance? Now, this is the most important part. Everybody who has not had the chance to listen to me carefully, now is a great time. This is the example, it's the sample SOP. I remember, I had reminded you in the first half of my webinar that a great way to start the SOP is to talk about the idea, one idea in your field that turns you on intellectually, right? Or a great way to start an SOP is to talk about, where the interest was first enkindled or started. So, and also remember when I was telling you how do you mention your personal why, demography and diversity factors were a big thing, or your background. As a child born and raised in Delhi, I never questioned the idea of my present life being a reflection of my actions. So he's mentioning his society, emphasizing that everything in our lives is a consequence of our prior actions. However, I began to question this belief when I chose biology-focused curriculum. So the child is saying, I've always grown up thinking that everything is genetic, but has been brought up thinking everything is karmic, and it is a consequence of all the prior actions, because that's the Hindu mythology that there is. But he says, I began to question this when I started doing biology, and I learned about inherited traits, gene function, expression, and regulation. So the first thing that he says is, my life changed when I first picked up biology-focused curriculum in school. So the interest starts from school, is what he's mentioning. It's not a newfound interest. Then I told you, right, you also have to defend the fact that once you realize, once you had that revelation that this is the subject that I am specifically interested in, what did you do to nurture or cultivate that interest? You did rigorous coursework. He enrolled himself in plant signal transduction. He did a research tutorial that focused on XYZ in his field. Then he says he assisted an upperclassman, which means a senior, in his research, in the senior's research, and eventually assumed responsibility, which means he's telling the readers he's a leader. So he started something with a senior. When the senior left it, he assumed responsibility and finished the research project. Then he started doing lab work and he started mastering a variety of techniques of plasmid purification, transfection, northern blots, and so on and so forth. ये कर क्या रहा है अभी? He's trying to make them believe that I tried so hard to keep nurturing my interests. So the SOP has no word limit. I think somebody asked me a question. Rahil, the SOP is, I mean, the word limit depends on the university. The word limit depends on the country. They always give you a word limit, okay? Then the student answers, so ye tha uska background. That background was only from the day he realized his interest to actually coming to the point where he felt that, yes, this is the degree I want to do. That was background. Why this course? Then he said that I presented a research paper at a symposium with 10-week program. He worked with a specific faculty member of Dr. Wolverton, and he finished a project. And he says, while these experiences reaffirmed my interest in research, the cell and molecular biology course helped me identify a few more focus area of research. तो अभी ये बता रहा है कि इसके beyond what, so XYZ, 3-4 ideas I really liked, I worked on them. What more than this? Some of the topics covered included protein structure, regulation, signal transduction, cellular mechanism leading to tumorigenesis. So he's saying, or bhi mujhe, what else am I interested in? So I'm saying your SOP does not even have to talk about, no, your SOP should never exceed word limit. No. Some of the topics covered. So he's also mentioning what else did he gather interest in. Slowly he will tell them that I want to do cancer research. And so cancer research, so remember, he talked about his background. He talked about what more he did to nurture, cultivate the interest. But then because he's taking a cancer research course, he's now slowly getting them to the idea that why does he want to work on the cancer research? Or similarly, if you're applying for MBA or MS, your specialization, like if you're going for law, then if you want to study intellectual property rights, why IPR? If you're going for MS in artificial intelligence, why artificial intelligence? Now, I'm sure you're not doing artificial intelligence from grade 7 in school. First, you will describe your interest in science. Then you will start to describe your interest in technology. Then you will come to AI. So now he's explaining how did he end up in believing that he wants to do cancer research. So he says, eukaryotic cellular physiology is what he grew interested in. Then he says, in order to design my own experiments, I read through numerous journals. So I think this has a lot to say about the child. Why? It says that he's a very self-reliant person. He's very self-directed. He just knows what he wants, and he did ample actionable things to go there, right? To chase that. So then he says the course focus. So he's saying he did a course, and no. So he's talking about the course that he did during his bachelor's, and which propelled him in the direction of cancer research. Then the last thing he says is why this university. So he talks about the different infrastructural assets of the university. He talks about the different features. So he talks about the specific lab. He is well researched about the university. He has also written, there's a Santee lab where there's a lot of focus on signaling mechanisms affecting cell motility. Is very much in line with the type of cancer research I would like to do. Your campus already has a laboratory for that. That is what I need, right? Then he says, what does he want to do in that course? So he says, अब इसने एक faculty की बात भी की. He has also spoken about a faculty. I find many of the faculty members at the Ohio University doing fascinating research. I'm quite interested in Dr. Lorraine Santee's research on the role of GT passes in epithelial cell mobility and metastasis. So he's mentioning, so here he goes personal. Now, if you were a faculty member reading this, what would not make you believe that he's well researched, right? So Bhavya, that's a wonderful question. What if a person does not have any achievement in the field? If she wishes to apply but has good projects, yes, then talk about that. Talk about what enkindled, what started, what gave flame to your interest in that field, and what kind of help did you do for yourself? What kind of help did you do to yourself to, you know, to cultivate or nurture that interest that you develop? So not necessarily does everything have to align to what you're doing, but whatever you've done to, nurture or cultivate that interest further, that has to be mentioned. Okay. And so here he talks about the future that he wants to see. He wants to be an independent investigator, which means a scientist. Sorry, excuse me. And he's committed to having a career that enables him to now look, he's also promising that not only does he want to be an independent researcher, but he's committed to mentor and lead a group of aspiring graduate level researchers, that in that campus, in the university where he will study his master's, he's ready to mentor more students like him in that field. Or he can also be a teaching assistant, which means he will also ensure that the current faculty members can use his help in doing better research. This is the magic of how an SOP can flip things for you. At the end of the thing, read these rules. Writing is a process. Give yourself time to engage with your SOP. Engagement would mean on a piece of paper first, jot down all the points. Then pick the ones that are the most important to you. Then give yourself time to write an SOP, go through the draft, get it proofread by 2 or more faculty members who you already know in your bachelor's university, the university you're doing your UG from, or any of your friends that have already been enrolled in universities abroad, or any of your mentors. Ask them to proofread your SOP. Uh, Start early, so at least 3 months prior to the deadline. So you can also, so sometimes like Bhavya was mentioning, upGrad or edX or Coursera have so many bridge courses that Bhavya or anybody can do. Bridge courses would mean that if I'm coming from microeconomics and I want to go to a field of programming, I can do enough Python programming courses in the middle of those 6 months, during those 6 months, to make the admissions officer believe that, hey, you know what? I had this interest. This is what birthed that interest. This is what generated that interest. And these are the Python programming or business analytics or business informatics courses that I have done so far. And I have done all of this to inculcate a better interest in me. And this is how I'm nurturing it. Yes, Bhavya, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write. So if there are undergraduate aspirants here, I'm going to give you a sample. If there are postgraduate aspirants which are trying to do their masters, I'm giving you a sample SOP. This is for postgraduate. I'll give you for undergraduate a sample SOP. Okay. Any other question for me? Please tell me. So normally for bachelors, it's called personal statements. For masters, it's called statement of purpose. Okay. The OWU, the Ohio University document, is for postgraduate. I'm sending you the undergraduate sample. This is the one for undergraduate. Well, Bhavya, I think that's the magic of SOP. SOP is the most handy when you talk, when you are switching between different fields. So if the SOP is written in a very articulate manner, in a very effective manner, in a very moving manner, with a lot of conviction, that can make all the difference. I think how effectively you can frame is, so you always have to still explain the reader that at the end of the day, I know you're switching fields. I know you come from science, you want to go into business, but what makes you go into business? What is the future you want? And how does your scientific background catapult you into doing a lot better in business than any other, think, or how do you fare against somebody who's been in business, is now doing an MBA, compared to you, who's a techie or a science student, or a law student now doing an MBA? What are the future plans? So a lot of it on a SOP also has a lot to do with the future you're seeing, and what campus infrastructure, what aspects of your campus life can you choose to actually reach those objectives, to actually meet those objectives that you have. And how does your law background uh, you know blend along or gel along with a business education to either run a very successful law firm? And so which are the skills you are lacking that you can ideally take up? And I think also mention, what as a law student have you effectively gained? What are the achievements you had in your life in terms of leadership, in terms of the problem solving or entrepreneurship, anything that is relevant to the future course that you're doing. So for business, what is the most important? Accounting is important, marketing is important, problem solving is important, entrepreneurship is important, uh, data science is important, the legal aspect of every business, the legality, very important. So connect everything, make them believe that where you're coming from is equally important to where you're going. I have done my bachelor's in BMS, majors in marketing, currently working as an accountant. Yes, Rishabh. So here's what I can do. I am giving all of you my email address. Write to me. We normally help you get admission into any part of the world for diploma, degree, for any direct admission that you want. We normally help you. And you can write an email to me. I will put somebody in charge. We don't charge for this. They will help you craft an SOP. Don't worry about it. Right? So I have given all of you my email address. We help a lot of students craft their SOP. We actually also help handle direct admissions. So if you want to study for a diploma or a degree, we will help you with that as well. So let us know what is it that you want to do, and we will definitely help you with that. Yes, I can tell you, of course, about upGrad. upGrad is South Asia's largest higher educational organization, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring as many you know uh, top universities in the world, the top 1% universities in the world, as many research intensive, employability intensive universities at a much affordable and accessible fashion in India. Through upGrad, you can do any MBA or Masters of Law, Masters of Science, so many of such masters fields in Germany, in the US, in Australia, where you're spending 1 year in India, 1 year on campus, or you're doing completely online, or you're doing partially one semester in India, 2 or 3 semesters abroad. So we're trying to make sure that more and more universities across the world are being brought for Indian students in a way more affordable manner. And by affordability, you know what I mean? Under 10 lakhs. So 7 to 8 lakhs is what we charge for the complete MBA degree, right, in Germany. When it comes to the US, you can do your Masters of Science in Data Science in $10,000, which is 7.5 lakhs, and you get a US master's degree, And for our bachelor's program, what we've done is uh, if you were to study in Canada, or if you were to study in Australia, if you were to study in the US, if you were to study in UK, what we do is we have hybrid programs where you start in India, you save almost 20 to 40 lakhs of rupees. So a standard Canadian degree for you, if it costs you, let's say 75, 80 lakhs, with us it'll cost you under 18 lakhs, under 17 lakhs, 1 7. If you were to go to Australia, your degree would cost you under 30 lakhs instead of 60 lakhs. If you were to study in the US, your degree would cost you 35 lakhs instead of 1 crore. If you were to study in UK, your degree would cost you under 28 lakhs, then spending 60 lakhs. So we help you start in India, ease yourself into the academic rigor. We teach you IELTS, we teach you study abroad curriculum. You don't need UCAS for UK admissions with us. You don't need to give SAT for admission in the US. Similarly, for masters, we don't need GMAT or GRE. We train you for IELTS wherever it's required, but for our German university partner, we don't need IELTS at all. Uh, Postgraduate courses in medicine? No, we don't. We don't. Uh, Amiksha, can you write to me again? Because I don't think I have gotten your email. Can you write to me again, Amiksha? Please, yes, yes, yes. So, Kareem, all our bachelors are in STEM programs. So, from artificial intelligence to cybersecurity to digital forensic to computer science to robotics to IT to business informatics. So engineering. So we also have engineering management. You can do a bachelor of engineering with honors in our university partners in Australia. Uh, some of these subjects are electives that you can pick up, and so once you pick up the electives of your interest, I think we could do better. Uh, yes, for IELTS for MBA in Germany is not a prerequisite. So for Canada, America, UK, Australia, we teach you for IELTS. Um, but for German university partner IU, we don't need IELTS. So I'm guessing we're beyond time. We were scheduled for 6:30 to 7:30. I'm giving you my email address. If I have not been able to answer any question, I will be more than happy to share the recording of the webinar. I will be more than happy in sharing the slideshow. Uh, Given you my email address, I wish you guys good luck. And yes, 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 you can go abroad on study loan. Yes, you can. So we help you with that. Wishing all of you good luck. And if you've got any questions for me, you can write to me. So I hope I was of good value to you. I have given you sample SOPs. You can always get back to me. I could proofread your SOPs. I could put a team member assigned to you for your admission, and we would definitely love to help you. Right? Thank you so much. Even if you were applying for undergraduate courses, it's still going to be very relevant to what things I spoke about. And you always have to mention about your past and your future experiences. Wishing you all the best. My LinkedIn, yes, I will just mention you. I am super excited when students ask me about LinkedIn. I think we're always underrating. I mean, we're not, we don't value LinkedIn enough. I think LinkedIn can solve big networking challenges for all of us. I think LinkedIn is one hotspot of networking. I think it can get you connected to university faculties. It can get you connected um, to so many entrepreneurs, so many industrial leaders. And I think the more network you have, the more expansive your network is, the more opportunities always fall in your path, the more it is that people tend to know you and take a good look at your research, take a good look at the content you create. So wishing you all the best. I have put in my LinkedIn. I look forward to hearing from you and getting your requests so I can add you and we can mutually add value to each other. Wishing you guys good luck, and it was an absolute pleasure speaking to you guys. Thank you very much, and you have a great evening ahead.